Dr. Thomas Maples, and welcome back to A Sacred Journey. As you can see, Dante the parrot is behind me, so you may hear some noises when we're recording this podcast. I do share my office with the bird, so this is also his home. Today, I want to explore the depths of a dream. If you've listened to A Sacred Journey or you've read my blogs, you'll realize that everything that I examine really encompasses our aspects of dreaming life forward. Today, what we're going to really examine as it relates to the depths of a dream is to create 3 steps to ignite the passion of spirit within so that we can engage soul at the place where it's at. So hopefully we could awaken it towards the depths of a dream to move towards what it is that we may be aspiring to. With always, we'll first start with a wonderful citation, and then we'll move into creating a means by which we go into the abyss, that area of the unconscious that we must dive into to create meaning and conscious representation of the goals, the aspirations, or the simple day-to-day realities that we want to create in our life. From there, we're going to begin to envision. We're going to be able to create a dream. We're going to be able to create a course, if you will, through the beliefs that we have present, and hopefully a little faith there as well as we begin to determine what kind of steps are needed to create that vision, to create that dream, and make it become a reality. And ultimately, we're going to piece these steps together to not only identify a dream, but also examine the things that may stand in the way of that dream becoming reality. Because in earnest, it's my hope in the new year to create a means to help individuals find their means to engage avenues to realize those dreams. As January comes near, it's time to create resolutions. Those resolutions are normally based upon goals, based upon dreams, or based upon visions we want to see become reality. But in order for those visions to become reality, we also have to let go of things that may not have worked. And so in this transition from fall into winter, we're reminded that this is the dying time. Maybe it could allow things to pass on that aren't necessarily working for us, so we could begin to create space to move those things in that help motivate us, help inspire us to become active participants in not only our dreaming capacity, but also in making those dreams to become a reality. Mythologist Joseph Campbell once stated, "It is by going down into the abyss that we recover the treasures of life. Where you stumble, there lies your treasure." So let us take a minute and let's dive into the depths of the abyss. Now, that may sound scary at first, but what I'm talking here about is symbolic. Sigmund Freud once wrote, "The interpretation of dreams is the royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious activities of the mind." Here, we see that there's an unconscious aspect of the psyche. The unconscious is things that we may not have readily at hand. It creates the means from which we dream. It also creates the means from which the visions that create our nighttime dreaming activity occur. 2 types of dreams exist. One form is the nocturnal enantiodromias that play out in our mind's eye when we sleep. Dreams affect sleep, and they represent the healing function of the psyche. When we sleep, our psyche, the soul, heals from the stress it's incurred from that day. This process also creates the avenues to recover from traumas that may hinder a more integrative and cohesive psychic structure. The nighttime visions that play out in our sleep and the symbols they expose us to act as psychopomps for us. They may inspire us to engage the symbolic level of the soul, even when those images may be scary. Nevertheless, they do create the means by which we could develop within the nighttime aspect of the dream. You may ask, what about nightmares? Well, when analyzed from the individual psyche, the symbolism behind a nightmare can really point towards themes that need healing from within. The psyche does this through exposure, much as the same process as our capacity to watch horror movies as adults. Those differ greatly from our capacity to watch a horror movie, let's say as a child, where it may scare one and give them nightmares for a week even, versus an average adult could watch a horror movie and maybe even laugh during it if it's more on the comedic side. Even if it is more on the scary side, there's enough processing of reality that they are able to differentiate what is real versus what is perceived in the movie, and they're able to differentiate that even though the screen may have these images present, they are removed from the screen. The process that allows that growth to occur really is the aspect of our psyche's capacity to desensitize to a dream symbolism and ultimately integrate from that process. Secondarily, dream symbols occur during consciously aware states. They may take the form of goals, visions, or even flashbacks in the case of high levels of anxiety. Nevertheless, these all point us to a direction that may need to be undertaken or rectified in order to get back onto a course consistent with our soul's intent. Our conscious visions represent unrealized goals. Even flashbacks represent aspects that may have occurred in the past, but by integrating them, these areas do not have to create the same level of anxiety as they once would have, and that's going back into that process of desensitization. Either way, conscious visions do represent unrealized goals or unrealized things that have to be worked on, maybe roadblocks that may stand in the way of the psyche, but nevertheless, once overcome, can help us begin to chart that course and work towards that vision we wish to create. Like their nocturnal counterparts, daydreams are ethereal. However, through our capacity to envision, chart a course, that means to plan our direction, and have faith in our ability to overcome the obstacles present, the ethereal nature of these visions may one day find fruition in our reality. As Walt Disney once said, if you dream it, you could do it. He said this when referring to a dream he had of a little mouse on one occasion that ended up becoming a major source of magic for children and adults worldwide. Now, how do we begin to examine the elements of these dreams? Now, how do we begin to believe in the capacity of our dreams? How do we begin to chart a course? First, we must find out what obstacles lie in our way, and that constitutes a process of diving into the unconscious, that area that may be unknown to us, may be a little scary because there can be some aspects down there we may not want to deal with. However, it is in that capacity to deal with those aspects that ultimately we create the means by which our visions can become reality, and the dreams we have can help spur our self-development to unrealized heights. I want to thank you for joining me here today. It's been a real pleasure to have you. I'm going to break this down into 3 segments, and so stay tuned for the other parts that will follow. Today we explored going into the depths of the abyss, what the unconscious is. I hope you have an understanding of what the unconscious is, and we will expand upon it more in the next segment. We'll also begin to explore our capacity to envision, believe, and chart a course towards the dreams that we find present. As I've stated earlier, we must first go within to make sure we know what is there, what roadblocks may stand in the way, so we could begin to make small shifts of behavior or small shifts of energy flow to create dynamic movement to ultimately begin the process of dreaming and realizing those dreams to come true. At that point, we'll also begin exploring how we can envision something new. A lot of times the roadblocks come up during this process, and so we will identify what those may look like. Ultimately, so we could begin the process of believing in ourselves, believing in our capacities to aspire towards those dreams, and ultimately charting the course towards their direction. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I really enjoyed making it and experimenting with this new media type. This is an experiment for me. Part of this is really going into the aspects of my dream. How can I help individuals go forward along their capacity to dream life forward? And so, as always, I wish you blessings, my friend, and I look forward to hearing any comments that you may have. And as always, may blessings find you on your journey to advance confidently in the direction of your dreams. Goodbye for now, and have a good day.